Hey everyone, it's Ms. Bell here from the Science Lab, and today we're going to be focusing on soil. Not only are we going to look at the properties of soil, like texture, color, appearance, the size of all those little pieces within the soil samples, but we're also going to see how well or how not well those soil samples retain water. So here we go. When talking about soils, we know that they can be classified by all different types of properties. And 4 properties that we're going to focus on with this experiment are color, texture, particle size, and aroma. When talking about color, you have to use your sense of sight. Is the type of soil red in color, light brown, gray, or blackish brown? And when you're talking about texture, you have to use your sense of touch or feel. Is it rough? Is it smooth? Is it gritty? If you add water to it, does it get sticky? When you're talking about the size of the individual particles underneath a hand lens or microscope, if you were to compare all the sizes, is one the largest? Is one just small? Or is one the smallest? And when talking about aroma, you use your sense of smell. Does it smell earthy? Does it smell beachy? Does it smell dusty or clean or dirty? So here's our sample A, and this mixture has a whole lot of sand with some clay and some topsoil, and this is going to be our sample A. And so I'm going to mix all this up. We're going to check out all of those different properties: the color, the texture, the aroma, and the size of the particles, and I'm going to show you what it looks like underneath a hand lens. So if you look at our sample A, then you can see it's kind of a medium brown color. And when I go and touch it, at first it feels kind of powdery, but then when I rub my fingers side to side, it feels pretty gritty. With the hand lens, we're able to see that there's a lot of chunky pieces, some grainy pieces, some clumps here and there. So when checking the aroma or the smell of our soils, you can do it one of 2 ways. First way, you can take just the as-is soil and you can kind of waft the smell towards you. You don't want to stick your nose directly into the soil, because when you sniff up, more than likely those little small dusty particles are going to go in your nostrils, and then you're going to have dirty, snotty nose. So just be very careful as to not get too close to the samples. That smells, it smells like dirty and earthy, but it's not a very strong scent. Or you can take a paper towel or paper plate, put a small sample of that dry sample on top of there, and then mist it with water. So not a lot of water. Mix it around, and in a way it kind of turns into like a paste, and that might help you smell your sample better. Yep, smells pretty much the same, just a little bit stronger. So here's our second sample, or sample B, which is more of a clay type soil. And as you can see, there's 3 different components in this type of soil mixture, but the highest percentage is going to be clay. Unlike our sample A, where the highest percentage was sand, this time we're dealing with a lot more clay and a small fraction of sand and topsoil. So let me go ahead and mix it all together, and then we'll check out the properties of this sample B. So when looking at the color of sample B, it's definitely a brown, but it's more reddish. So I would say a reddish brown. And the texture of sample B is very, very powdery. There's a little bit of grit or graininess to it. And under the hand lens, our sample B looks a bit powdery and somewhat smooth, even though there's some big chunks throughout this mixture. And the smell for sample B, oh, it really smells like dirt. When you go outside to like a garden or something, and you just smell dirt, it kind of smells like that. Alrighty, so here's our third sample, or sample C, and it has a different type of mixture. The sand in here and the topsoil, which is that dark colored part, they have the same percentage, and then just a small percentage of clay. So once we mix sample C, we're going to be able to observe what it looks like and how this is similar to a loam soil sample. When talking about loam, we know that overall it's great out in a garden when you're trying to grow crops or flowers or plants, because it's considered a really rich, healthy type of soil. And it contains humus, and not only does it retain nutrients within itself, but it also allows drainage and allows certain water to go through it. Sometimes we call it topsoil, and then other times, when you're looking at loam in close up, it might look like it has different particle sizes because of what all it is made up of, what it all contains, because it has clay and sand and topsoil and humus in it. So with our sample C, we're able to see that the color is more of a dark brown. And when I come in to feel it, to see what that texture is, it's really gritty. You can see underneath the hand lens, there's not much powder left on my finger, but it definitely has a gritty texture to it. And if we look under our hand lens, you're able to see that it's kind of clumpy. There's big clumps all over, and it has some grit to it, some grittiness to it. So not only in texture, but also in appearance as well. And as for the aroma from sample C, I would say again, it smells kind of earthy. Like when you go outside and you smell dirt. Yeah, I would say earthy. And here is our fourth sample, also known as sample D. It's just consists of humus inside and no percentage of different substances. So there's no clay, there's no topsoil, there's no sands or pebbles, just humus itself. So if we were to look really close, I don't know, we might see some broken down leaves or some decayed parts of bugs or worms or roly-polies. When you're talking about humus, first and foremost, it's always going to be dark colored, like a blackish, brownish color. And when you put your hand straight into it and you feel it, or you pour water into it and you feel it, it always kind of feels kind of spongy and squishy. Humus can usually be found in the top layers of soil, kind of right under the grass area. And it contains a lot of different nutrients, which is extremely useful for a soil that wants to stay and remain healthy. It also helps with water storage inside soil because of it being so spongy. And humus can last hundreds of years in soil because it's made up of all of the remains of certain organic matter and waste after it's been decomposed. And humus usually mixes with soil by the help of earthworms and other little critters that kind of crawl all throughout humus. So with our sample D, we're able to take a look at the color and see that this is really dark in color, almost like a black or like a brownish black. And as far as texture goes, it's actually quite soft and smooth, even though there are some chunky bits within it. It's really smooth to put in between your fingers. And looking under our hand lens, we're able to see that there are some chunks in it. It's not powdery like the clay. It's not gritty like the sand. There's kind of some shredded pieces in there. That's all the decayed particles, but I would say it's more kind of chunky and shredded as far as the appearance goes. And for the aroma of sample D, I don't even have to get close to smell that. It smells earthy and like soil, like mud, like really, really dirty. Not stinky sock dirty, but like dirt itself. Oh yeah, it smells like a garden, like mud and soil. And last but not least, this is our fifth sample, aka sample E, and this is going to be a gravel type soil. So it has pretty equal proportions of sand right here, clay right here, and gravel, like all these little pebbles. So I'm going to mix all this up, and then we're going to take a closer look at the properties of our sample E. So with our sample E, we're able to see that this color is more of a reddish brown, and the texture, when I pick it up, it's, I don't know, it's a mixture of a lot of things. First, it's like all I feel are rough, hard pieces, and then after a while I get just a little bit of like a powdery aftertouch. But for the most part, I'm feeling those rough, hard pieces. Now, the appearance underneath my hand lens, it's powdery, but then again, you start to see those huge, chunky pebbles mixed throughout it. And voila, you're all done. So now you can take all of that observable information that you noticed during these investigations and you can fill out a chart like such. So with all of your samples A, B, C, D, and E, you can make sure to fill in what color they were, what kind of texture they felt like, what kind of aroma they smelled like, and what they looked like as far as their appearance when using a hand lens to get a closer look.